Allegiant Air is an airline that's experienced a massive turnaround in recent years. A few years back, Allegiant was infamous for operating old aircraft that seemingly every other day would suffer from maintenance issues. Now, the airline has transitioned to a modern all-Airbus fleet and has improved in various ways. In this video, I take my first Allegiant flight in almost 8 years, doing a quick round trip from Peoria, Illinois to Denver and back. It's also my first time flying from Peoria, so there's a lot to look forward to today as we travel on board one of America's most popular leisure airlines. Now, I understand what the title says, but stick around till the end of the video to find out what I mean. It's 7:30 in the morning, and after an easy drive over from Champaign, I've arrived at Peoria's General Wayne A. Downing International Airport, also known as PIA. No, not that PIA. One of the most attractive perks of flying from PIA is that parking is totally free. To my surprise, the parking lot was quite full today, so I only managed to find a spot a fair distance away from the terminal. It's worth noting that there is a free parking shuttle that runs regularly, but I still ended up walking. Peoria's current passenger terminal opened in 2011, replacing the old terminal that had been active for over 70 years. Much of the old terminal was demolished in 2011. However, a small portion of it, specifically that which houses the control tower, remains in operation to this day. Despite opening 13 years ago, the current terminal still looks good as new. This is actually my 4th time at PIA, as I previously visited the airport in 2011 and 2015 to pick up or drop off my grandparents. I've been wanting to fly out of the airport for a while now, so when I found a solid ticket on Allegiant, I knew I couldn't pass it up. As is good practice when flying low-cost airlines, I had checked in online and thus proceeded straight to TSA, but not before briefly pausing and checking on the status of my flight. This morning, we'll be on board Allegiant Flight 1946 to Denver, departing just after 9 a.m. Pre-check was a breeze, and within 2 minutes I was airside. Peoria is the 4th busiest airport in Illinois, following Moline Quad Cities, Chicago Midway, and of course, Chicago O'Hare. The airport served over 480,000 passengers in 2021, and that number has continued to grow. It goes without saying that the terminal is modern and easily the best in all of central Illinois. There is plenty of seating and other various amenities, including free Wi-Fi. But perhaps the one part I was most excited to check out was the new terminal extension that opened in 2021. The extension is accessible via a newly added sky bridge that provides great views of the ramp, particularly Gate 10, which is our gate this morning. This extension saw 2 more gates added to the terminal along with a dedicated U.S. Customs and Immigration facility, thus officially granting Peoria Airport its international status. Of course, PIA doesn't receive scheduled international service, however, these new gates have hallways that would ideally funnel arriving international passengers to the new customs hall. PIA is also home to the Peoria Air National Guard base, housing the 182D airlift wing of the Illinois Air National Guard. As such, various C-130H-3 aircraft are based here and can frequently be seen flying in and out. Peoria also serves a handful of cargo traffic from UPS Airlines, who fly 757s and 767s from Louisville, Rockford, and at one point, Miami. I soon shifted my attention to catch our A320's arrival from Nashville. Both Nashville and Denver are seasonal destinations from Peoria, and both routes are serviced by the same aircraft. Basically, the aircraft flies first from Nashville to Peoria, then flies to Denver, comes back to Peoria, before operating the leg back to Nashville. The last time I flew Allegiant was 2016, flying from Indianapolis to Myrtle Beach and back on the McDonnell Douglas MD-83. Back then, Allegiant was a completely different airline with a large fleet of MD-80s and 757s along with the Airbus aircraft. Maintenance issues were aplenty with the MD-80s and 757s and ultimately prompted their retirement. Allegiant is the largest airline in Peoria, controlling around 51% of the market share and serving 300,000 passengers from April 2022 to March 2023. The airline serves 10 destinations from Peoria, 4 of those being seasonal service. Allegiant's Denver and Nashville services are relatively new additions to Peoria. Speaking of Denver, United Express previously operated this route before ending it a number of years back. Now, being an ultra-low-cost budget airline, Allegiant places restrictions on the luggage you can bring on board. The only free bags you get are one personal item per person whose dimensions must not exceed 8 by 14 by 8 inches. When you book your flight on Allegiant's website, you have the option to add bundles that include bags and seat selection among other perks. Because I was traveling lightly and didn't really care, I opted not to purchase anything extra. If you are planning to bring bags, you must buy these during online booking for the cheapest price, otherwise they'll get more expensive later on. You can add priority boarding, flexible ticket options, and even an option to pay for your pet if that's coming along. Boarding soon started on time, and Allegiant boards their aircraft in zones. For this flight, I'm boarding in Zone 6, and I don't know how they determine zones because I'm seated towards the front of the aircraft, while on the return flight I was in the very back, but still boarded in Zone 3. Seat selection on Allegiant comes with a price, and that varies based on where on the aircraft you want to sit. Typically, seats in the front and in the exit row are more expensive than those all the way in the back. If you don't pre-book seats, you'll get assigned one automatically at check-in. I opted not to select seats in advance, and so I ended up getting assigned the aisle seat for both flights today. Allegiant's A320s seat 186 passengers in an all-economy configuration. The seats look pretty awesome color-wise, but overall are as bare bones as you can get. For the first leg, I'm in 11D, and there's not much other than this pathetic excuse for a tray table and then a small netted seat pocket. Contents-wise, there's surprisingly an in-flight magazine along with the safety card. At 5'11", I found the legroom to be pretty tight as expected, but I was able to bear it somewhat. Still, above each seat are the personal air vents, reading lights, and call buttons. Not a big deal, but shortly after being seated, I noticed a bunch of crumbs littering the floor, which seemed to be just an issue in this area of the plane. It didn't seem like the entire aircraft was dirty. Our flight today was quite full, and soon we pushed back for an early departure. In-flight entertainment on Allegiant is very limited and basically non-existent. There is no Wi-Fi, and as a result, there's no way to stream entertainment, so your best bet is to bring a book or pre-downloaded content. As expected, Allegiant charges for any drinks or snacks, but the buy on board selection is pretty vast and the prices are not very exorbitant as well. It's also worth noting that Allegiant doesn't solely exist as an airline. It's actually part of a larger travel company called Allegiant Travel Company, and so it specializes in connecting smaller communities to big-time vacation destinations. That's particularly why its route map is so random with respect to the various cities that the airline serves. But it's really cool though if you ask me, and one of my favorite parts of the airline. Aside from studying and reading the magazine, there wasn't much to do on this flight until we began our descent. This was my first time back in Denver in 3 years, but I never thought I'd ever be flying Allegiant here. Our approach brought us in from the northeast before flying past the airport on downwind, making a 180 and then coming into land on runway 35 right. After docking at gate A39, it was time to get off the aircraft for just 40 minutes before getting right back on for the return flight to Peoria. As of 2023, Denver was the 6th busiest airport in the world and 3rd busiest in the United States, serving just under 47 million passengers that year. Denver continues to grow massively, so much so that United Airlines is considering relocating its headquarters here from Chicago. United itself is the largest airline at the airport and growing rapidly, followed closely by Southwest. After grabbing some lunch, I made my way right back to the gate where I sat nearby and enjoyed some Panda Express until it was time to board. Ironically, despite being all the way back in seat 27D, I boarded earlier this time in Zone 3. Or maybe this is because Allegiant boards their planes from back to front. Somebody please let me know in the comments. Soon, I was wedged back in my seat for the 90-minute trek east back to Illinois. We picked up a slight delay since there seemed to be a discrepancy with the passenger count, but it was soon resolved and we were on our way. On this flight, I gave in and decided to go for one of the buy on board options. I went with the wings box, which cost me $10.99. Based on the contents, I think this was pretty good value for money. The wings box includes a bag of popcorn, granola bar, graham crackers, applesauce, and the main reason why I bought this, Allegiant wings. Aside from that, not much else to report on until we landed back in Peoria. Because we were flying back eastward, this flight was slightly and thankfully shorter than the flight out to Denver. Our approach brought us past the airport on downwind, turning base over Peoria Heights before coming in past the city for a landing on runway 22. And there we go. Around 5 hours after leaving Peoria, we're back walking through the exact same gate we departed from. So what did I think of Allegiant? Well, they were exactly as I expected. A traditional budget airline, but the flights were on time and the crew especially was great. Now, here's the part about not making the mistake I made when flying Allegiant. Initially, I booked my ticket for January 7th for $98 round trip. An absolute steal for sure. Unfortunately, my plans changed and I ended up having to go to New York that day, so a few days earlier I had to reschedule these flights, and the date I chose to reschedule to was February 23rd. Now, if it's past 24 hours from when you booked your ticket, Allegiant will charge you the difference in fare to change your flights. In my case, it was an extra $107 to change the dates, bringing my total to $205 round trip. But would I fly Allegiant again? Well, I wouldn't go out of my way to fly them, but I would definitely recommend them as a budget carrier, and I would fly them again for sure. Alright everybody, so just got back from Peoria, so I'm back home in Champaign-Urbana, back on campus. I'm sure I've given my verdict about the flights and Allegiant by now. You've probably heard that at this point, but I just wanted to come up on here real quick, close off the video with some brief remarks. First of all, apologies if this video was not up to the usual standard that my trip reports have, if they even have a standard at this point. Yeah, I apologize if the video wasn't as great, didn't have a window seat either flight, because I deliberately chose not to pay for that. But it was an interesting experience for sure. I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. Of course, combined both flights into one video because there was really no point in having them both be individual videos. But I will say for sure, a lot of good stuff is coming in the near future. I promise you, a lot of good stuff is coming in the future, inshallah. So if this video wasn't up to the mark, I hopefully got a lot of good stuff coming up in the near future, so stay tuned for those. And that's it. Just wanted to close off on that note. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you for sticking around till the end. Let me know what you thought about the video. Let me know your thoughts on Allegiant, if it was your first time ever watching an Allegiant video, which I highly doubt. But anyway, thanks again for tuning in. Take care. Peace. See you next time.